Correct. Okay, so on this really wonderful, exciting time of year for me, I'm going to use the gavel and call this school committee meeting number 1615 to order. And the first order of business today is reorganization of the school committee. So I'm going to follow Lynette's very detailed notes here because she wasn't sure. Oh, I'm calling the meeting. I didn't even say what time. I'm gonna. You're gonna do that work? Wonderful. Okay, so we are going to start with the election of the chair, who I cannot wait, will assume the duties immediately upon election. So I would like to call for a motion to open nominations for members to serve as chair to the school committee.
So moved.
Second.
Jeff has his hand up. Okay. Well, this is just to, right, and Bonnie. Okay. All right. So who wants to make a nomination?
I would
Jeff?
nominate Jane Burke.
I'll second that. Arthur.
Okay, so we have a motion to nominate Jane Burke to serve as chair by Jeff Blogren and a second by Art Bataki. Are there any other nominations?
Laura.
Oh, Laura, thank you. You have your hand up.
I'd like to nominate Carrie Ann for chair.
Okay, Carrie Ann, and we need a second.
I'll second. Jeffrey.
And a second by Jeffrey Blogren. Okay, are there any other nominations? Okay. So I'm following, so I need, let's see, a motion to close the nominations for the position of chair.
So moved.
Okay, so Bonnie first and a second by Jeff, and then I'm going to do a roll call vote. Art Bataki,
Yes.
Jane Burke,
Yes.
Dennis Sears.
Yes.
Is Danelle on here?
No.
Okay. Jeff Blogren. Jeff,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
is Carrie on? I'm just waiting.
not.
Okay, Carrie Ann
Yes.
and Bonnie.
Yes.
Okay, so we are going to, do we want to, you have in the past, and I'm just going to open it. Would you like to speak? Let the people who are nominated speak as to why they would be interested in the position of chair. Yes, good.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so who would like to go first? We either have Jane or Jeff. I mean, Jane or Carrie Ann, excuse me.
I'll cede to Carrie Ann to go first.
Okay, Carrie Ann?
I'm sorry, Beth, can you repeat what it is that you're wanting me to speak to?
So the committee often likes to hear the interest of the person who's been nominated for chair, why they would like to assume the position of chair.
Sure. I have found working for and with the school committee incredibly rewarding. It's been a really great opportunity to be a part of so many different initiatives. And so I appreciate the nomination and the opportunity to consider growing my learning curve in this process, and bringing also a working person's perspective to our rhythm of how the meetings go there, and being a new person, that can be something different. So those are some options, and yeah, thank you for nominating me. That's very nice. Thank you.
Okay, Jane?
Well, I'm accepting this nomination because in this time of great stress at every level, it seems like continuity is important. even though I honor younger people coming up and taking over, I think I would like to volunteer myself for another year as we try to deal with the Regional School Planning Board, the getting back to some sort of educational normalcy, and being familiar with Beth and the process that we've been working with her over the last 3 years. I think I would like to help move the school forward. Always inviting new ideas from other members, but trying to keep a steady course.
Okay. So with that, I'm going to call for a vote for chair. So I guess, I don't know if we should I just roll call and you say who you want, or do you want me to just say Jane and call?
Just roll call and then we
Say who you want.
vote
Okay.
for.
So I'm going to do a roll call and you can tell me who you're voting for as chair. So in alphabetical order, Art Pataki,
Jane
Burke,
Burke.
Jane Burke, I'm
Oh, I see. I'll vote for myself. Thank you, Jane Burke.
Dennis Sears,
Jane Burke.
still no Danilo, okay. Jeff,
Jane.
Laura,
Carrie Ann.
still no Carrie Ann,
Me,
and Bonnie.
Jane.
Okay, so thank you, everyone, and I am super happy to hand this to Jane
We
Burke.
have to announce the vote.
I do. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for Jane and 2 for Carrie Ann, and 2 who are not here.
All right, so now we need to elect a vice chair, and I'll take nominations for vice chair.
I nominate Carrie Ann Petrick.
A second. If you do the same.
I nominate Art. I second Art Pataki.
Are you good? Or you want me to do it?
Oh, I got it.
Okay.
All right. So I think what I'm going to do is,
First, see if there are other nominations.
oh, are there other nominations? Of course.
Madam Chair, I move we close nominations for vice chair.
Second.
Okay, so that's Bonnie and Dennis moving to close nominations, so I need a roll call vote. Art,
Yes.
Jane, yes, Dennis,
Yes.
Janelle's on here, Jeff,
Yes. Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
okay, Kara's not here, Carrie Ann,
yes.
and Bonnie.
Yes.
Okay, so now we're going to vote, and I think I just assumed, do it the other way, where, I'm going to call for votes for, well, is it who looked up? Okay, so I'm gonna go around and, would you please voice whether you're going to be voting for Art or Carrie Ann for vice chair? So, Art,
I'll vote for myself.
okay, I will vote for Art. Jane will vote for Art. Dennis,
Yes.
who do you vote for?
Art.
Okay, Janelle's still not here. Jeffrey,
Carrie Ann.
okay, and Laura,
Carrie Ann.
and Carrie Ann.
Myself,
Okay, we don't have Carrie Ann, Kara here, right?
Right.
And Bonnie?
Art,
Okay, so we have 4 votes for Art and 3 votes for Carrie Ann, and therefore Art is continuing as vice chair. Thank you for your attention to this, and now we have a motion to appoint the slate of positions to the school committee as presented below, and I need a motion.
a motion to approve the appointment of the following: the secretary of the school committee, Dr. Beth Rigobudo; treasurer, Thomas Arioli; district law firm, Murphy, Lemire and Murphy, PC; clerk to the school committee, Lynette Gagnon; doctor for the school district, Dr. Lisa Sylvia.
Second.
Second.
Okay, Dennis. Dennis seconded. It's really hard for the people who are virtual to get credit for seconding. It's not that we don't appreciate your second, Jeffrey. All right, so now.
It's okay.
Roll call vote for accepting the slate as listed. Art Pataki,
Yes.
Jane Burke, yes. Dennis Sears,
Yes.
Janelle hasn't gotten on yet, has she?
No.
Jeffrey,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
still no Kara, Carrie Ann,
yes.
and Bonnie.
Yes,
Yes, okay. Thank you very much. We have reconvened, reorganized, going forward. I'm very sorry that Kara and Janelle could not be here for the vote, but so be it. All right.
Madam
Now,
Chair,
yes,
at this point, I would like to move to amend the agenda
Yes.
for tonight's meeting to add the second read on policies AD, vision statement and core values,
mhm.
and JEB, early childhood entering ages.
All right, do we have a second for that?
second,
Okay, so that was a motion by Dennis and seconded by Bonnie. Is there any discussion of that?
What is the motion?
The motion is to have the second read on 2 policies, policy AD about our mission statement and JEB about entry-level ages. And you had, those are not in the packet, but they were sent to you right after for the last meeting, and we just.
Right after we had the first read at the last meeting of the full school committee, which was in October.
So that would be done during item 10C during the policy subcommittee section of the agenda. Karen, you have your hand up?
Yeah, we have a very full agenda and these aren't in our packet, and it would be really helpful to be able to actually reread them. And so it just feels difficult to be able to have a second read when they're not right at our fingertips.
I guess the question I would ask both the chair and the superintendent is, are there, I don't remember them well enough on the fly. Are these things that we need to do as soon as possible?
No.
I think there, again, more clarifications. I think we could go to the second, and I'll just make sure that they get put into the packet. I think we just put it in one section.
Mhm.
So,
so should we withdraw the motion and the second
And
then?
and I'll have it if you.
Yeah, I move to withdraw my motion.
And I will withdraw my second, and both will go, and it will go on the agenda along with hard copy
Yeah.
or email copy of
yeah,
those.
I will note that. for next time. Okay,
I will resend them to all
yeah,
the committee
that'd be,
members.
yeah.
Mhm.
Again,
Thank you.
I do want to give a heads up that as we move through the agenda, if I see that we need to be finished by, with our business by 7:45, so we can be ready for our executive session. So if it looks like we need to move the business managers, the business report up in order to fit that in before we have to go into executive session, I'll give you an indication of that. So we're doing very well at the moment, so is the student representative, I'm going to skip over student spotlight because that's scheduled for 6:45. And I'll take the student representative report. I think I saw a student representative online.
Yes.
Oh,
He's
hi,
waving at us.
Yeah.
I'm looking at all the names and there's a lovely face right staring at me.
Waving
Okay,
at us.
please go ahead, Stella.
Hi, so I'm the only one who was able to make it tonight, but I just wanted to talk quickly about the student council. So lately we have been meeting very often, and we are talking about opening the school store again, which has a ton of different merch, and we're setting that up. And we're also trying to come up with different ways that students can enjoy school with little extra things that will make it better that we can sell at the school store. And I'm currently in 9th grade, and we are working on a fundraiser that will be selling packaged food at the elementary school play, which is going to be the Christmas Carol. And we are also coming up with different fundraisers. And I know that one of the grades is going to try and have a movie night at some point. And we're also doing, as a high school, we're going to sell some raffle tickets for $1 to raffle off a art piece. And so that is what we have been coming up with lately for student council.
Does anybody have any questions for Stella?
I don't, but I have one for Jesse.
Okay.
Jesse, I've noticed
You have
a
to-
lot of
you have
places,
to- you have to
I've
talk.
noticed a lot of places in town have our neighbor up the road's paraphernalia for sale. I was wondering if we could do the same.
Selling in local stores.
Yeah,
I mean, hypothetically, we could. You know, we offer to the parents and kids, school store every once in a while, online through Stadium System, and people buy merchandise through them, which are usually picked out by kids. They go through and pick out kind of designs of sweatshirts and things like that. As far as merchandise in the, local stores, I don't know if they have an agreement, with the school where the school gets a kickback. You know, I know Big Y has done that every so often, with us included, but I haven't been in Big Y in a while. I don't know if it's just, the other schools that offer.
So could you hear that, the virtual people? Oh, good, all right.
can we look into that? I think it would be great if we could get our stuff out into the public for sale.
Sure.
We can have Stella add that to the list.
Yeah, see if the
Okay.
kids are excited about that. I think Jeffrey Blackburn would like to ask you something, Stella.
Thank you. Hey, Stella, great work with the student council getting back into full swing. What is the, are you guys trying to raise money through the store to fund a certain initiative that the students are trying to accomplish?
We have not decided what we are raising the money for and how we're going to split it. But our next meeting is definitely going to be talking about what we will raise it for. And I don't remember how long ago we had the school store open, but I forget what we used the money for, but maybe we can do something like that again.
Great. Thank you.
And Dennis has another question.
Well, it kind of goes to Jesse and to anybody else that wants to chip in. At one time, I seem to believe that we actually, in the Old Stone Store, you know, which is part of the Historical Society, or Sheffield Historical Society, I believe we used to have some, you know, school goods in there, few in number, but you know, as a fairly active member of the Historical Society, I'd be glad to see if they'd be interested.
There he
in-
is, Stella. He's saying he'd be interested in it.
do that again, and, you know, the person that asked is a former school committee member who's the quote, owner of the Old Stone Store, Captain Miller. You know?
I mean, that's a great idea. We certainly can tie that into what student council's doing. And as they begin to purchase things to sell, we could order a few more so that we could offer them through this.
Yeah, well, it not only would maybe generate some more money, but it also, I think, would be a good public image thing. And as, you know, there's a lot of people moving up to this area. And, you know, it'd be hard to imagine that wouldn't trigger some discussions about, so what's this place all about? You know, that type of thing. And since I do, you know, pretty much on at least a probably twice a month basis, a tour of duty in the Old Stone Store, I obviously would try to tie them down. You know?
Yeah, that'll be great.
Okay,
Yeah, to
thanks.
support the merch.
All right. Thanks very much, Stella. Oh, and one more. Yeah.
Yes. So what's your position on this, the council?
I'm in 9th grade and I'm the student representative.
For the 9th grade?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to second, since I brought this up before, this whole idea of looking how we can get more people in our community to identify by wearing merch, buying merch and wearing it. And as another person at the Historical Society, I think we're out of those Benny's first day of kindergarten books. I don't know if we can print them again.
Oh,
Those are great.
they're
But
great too, sure.
yeah, I don't, if that could be printed again. So, I have a tour duty this week, so I will bring it up again. I will support you, but my one suggestion is, before you fundraise, figure out exactly for whom or what you are fundraising.
Okay, thank you.
And thank you for your information.
All right. We'll go on to item 5, public comment. If there's someone online here who wants to make a public comment, now would be the time. Looking for hands up, I don't see any. If you're having trouble finding the hands up, I'll give you a little bit more time to find it.
No.
Okay, thank you very much. So we'll go on to the standing report 6A. Do I have a motion for approval of the minutes from meeting number 1615 on October 21st?
So moved.
Bonnie moves to do that. Second
Second,
is from Art. And does anybody have any amendments to?
I
the
just
minutes?
have a question.
And Bonnie has a question.
Let me see where it was. It was with the explanation, if you go to the top of page 3, it was the business manager's report.
Yeah,
The tuition was not paid out of local funds and represented funding for students attending specialized schools. Could we change it to what that actually, that's a little gobbledygook.
You can't say to. You want to know exactly where it got paid?
Well, it was spoken of. In other words, people don't understand what it means, local funds. It's not out of
Oh, the grant funds we use.
Exactly, so just that change to be
Oh, to
made.
grant funds, you're talking
funds.
about the,
Yeah.
Right, because that was what was
Yes.
discussed when,
Yes.
when,
So
Um,
add grant funds into that,
right,
okay? Duly noted.
so that was my
Thank you for your
only,
close read. All
you are
right,
welcome.
I'll take a roll call vote to accept the minutes with the amendment suggested. Art,
Yes,
Dennis,
Yes,
Jeffrey,
I didn't hear what the amendment was. I was,
to add grant funds to the section on the business report, page 3 at the top of the page. It says tuition was not paid out of local funds. It's clearer if we say, but grant funds were used. I mean, to let.
Got it.
How do we pay for it if we didn't use local funds?
got it. Okay. Yes, thank you.
Okay, let's see, we were Jeff, Laura,
Yes.
Marianne,
Yes.
and Bonnie.
Yes,
Okay. So now, if you want to turn to enrollment, and if you have any questions for the superintendent. on
yes,
that.
how did we get 3 additional seniors?
they applied and we said yes. No, I actually don't know that. I looked at the number this afternoon myself and was pleased to see that it was going in that direction. I believe we have had quite a few move-ins, believe it or
Yeah.
not. And so I'm just gonna, unless Mr. Foster knows specifically,
Are we talking?
enrollment, we have
In
3,
total, or recently?
grade 12 is in this month. It was recorded in this month.
So, we had one, student who was with us earlier and then returned,
Yep.
from a different district. And then we recently had, 2 other students, who have enrolled.
Can you repeat that?
So one,
We got 3 new students.
one
One-
was a returning student who left to go to another district and decided to come back, and the other 2 are new students.
Does that mean it was a family that moved into the community?
No, the first one who had been with us prior had moved from here,
Mm-hmm,
and then asked to return here,
mm-hmm,
his brother too.
Uh-huh.
Come back to school, even though he's still living in that other community. And the other 2, I think one was homeschooled,
oh,
and
okay.
now coming back, and then another student who's at another school who came here.
Well, there's other.
Thank you, Jesse.
You're welcome.
All right. There being no miscellaneous correspondence, we can go on to school improvement plan. So we have 15 minutes before.
Well, yes, you could, but I'm saying, do you want to move up the business report
Oh.
and get that out of the way? Because these will be a little bit longer. that's all.
Yeah, I don't want to.
I motion to move the business section to the current place in the agenda.
Second,
Okay, and so I'll take a roll call vote. Just meant Jeff and Bonnie. Roll call vote, Art. Dennis,
yes,
Jeffrey,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
and
Yes.
Bonnie,
yes,
and Jane, yes. So business manager, business report, the business.
Nikki's on for us tonight.
Oh, Nikki, great. All right, let's go to page
15A.
15A, last page.
All right.
So we're looking for a motion to, on the warrant.
I move to accept the warrants of presented on November 18th, 2021 for the total of $1,140,855.32.
Okay,
second,
thank you, Art. A second, okay, now let's hear about the warrant, please, Nikki.
All right. So it's a short list this month. We had our monthly health insurance warrant for 291,000. And then we had 2 vendor warrants for the month. They include transportation, retirement, and other monthly regular bills, including regionalization invoices as well that were paid through the regionalization grant. And that's it. That's all I got for you this month.
All right. We have Jack and then Bonnie.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Jane. Nikki, and I'm not sure if you were here, I believe in an earlier meeting, we requested seeing the amounts against plan, just so we could see, are we over any category or under by a certain type? Beth, could you refresh like how we phrase that actually, or the request?
I don't think that's what you asked for. What you asked for was to make sure that the total was broken out by what was paid in the general fund and what was paid in the other fund so that it added up to the total.
That's
Okay.
Yep. That's what I remember. I think we weren't going to do that other, right? Okay.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
So Bonnie and then Carrie Ann.
Dennis, are you still doing the checking of the warrants, all the details of these? Okay. Have there been any issues?
No.
Okay, Carrie Ann?
Thank you. I'm wondering if, is there a reason why we're not specific on here under the vendor warrants of exact, like breaking out and labeling what each amount is for?
So you want me to answer
Tell me
that?
more.
Well, this is usually a summary report, and what you have elected is a representative of this committee who goes in and does the detailed review and sees all of that detail, because it would be like, you know, lots and lots of reports. So you are welcome to go in, but you have elected a representative to do that.
Bonnie?
Carrie Ann, that's why I asked the question. Our warrant representative is Dennis, who goes through all of that detailed information.
So does that then mean that Dennis, before it comes to us, has gone through all of this?
Yes.
So Dennis essentially sort of like sees the invoices and approves them before they get to the warrant, or before they get to our report.
Used to have a whole committee that did it. So there were 3 of us, and 2 of the 3 had to go and sign off all over. And what you see is, you will see, I don't know, let's say it's the CD bus company, you will see the amount and what we were invoiced, and you can ask, well, Dennis will explain it since he's doing it now, but there were times that I asked, or any of us would ask to see all the backup documentation.
Got it. So
So
Dennis, would it be possible for you to send me this backup documentation? Because I'd like to get a better feel for understanding what this
No, I think
number is.
Carrie Ann, we could consider, if you want to be one, we changed from a committee of several people for the warrant.
Yeah.
Because legally, we are now allowed to have 1 person, but if you would like to be considered to be the person who comes down and looks at it.
No, I just want to see these ones. I'm just curious.
Come down to the business office and have a look, but if they're not things that probably are easy to send.
they're also not to be removed.
Yeah, they're in folders. It's not a document. It's looking
You're
through.
not looking at the invoices, for example. What you're looking at is you're verifying all of the payments that were made, you know, from our funds. Okay, it's not that you're approving that, you know, it is an after the fact, you know, evaluation.
If you could ask, if he could say, you know, I'd like to
If I
see
see a
this.
spooky name on there, for example, that looks like it's the fly-by-night insurance company, you know, yeah, then I'm gonna ask, you know, that type of thing. Yeah.
And he's not the only one that signs off. I'm required to sign off. The person who prepares the warrant is signing off. The business office is signing off. So there's a check and balance at every level prior to it getting to you guys.
Yeah, and how we determined, for example, that we had to increase the budget line in legal because Warren reported to finance that this is something that's, you know, an issue in planning for the upcoming budget plan to do this, but the documents, I mean, we have to do it in closed rooms, and all of that financial information is kept secure, but it's all there.
Yeah.
I mean,
so-
as Beth said, if you want to come and look.
Yeah, I think for now, because we have a time crunch, Carrie Ann, I think I think you should probably come down in person and experience it, because I think that's the only way that it can be achieved for you to get a.
Who do I organize this with?
Carrie Ann, I can help you.
Okay, great. I would love that. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, great. All right, so now we need a vote. We have a motion to accept this, we have a second, so I'm gonna take a roll call vote to accept the warrant. Art,
Yes.
Dennis,
Yes,
Jeffrey,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Mary Ann?
Yep.
Bonnie
Yes,
and Jane. Did I get everybody? Such a short list tonight. I feel like it's going unusually quickly. By the way, we have on watching one of the candidates from Egremont, who in the review of the Egremont nominees for school committees happening on Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock. So I'm hoping our next meeting, we have our full complement of 10 members. Thank you, Anita, for being here. So now
could you again tell us the 3 people
I can,
from Egremont?
I can let you know, but I don't have,
Okay.
have the list here. And it looks like we have a new face here.
Already, we have Daisy, but I'm expecting Brenda.
Okay.
Okay,
Daisy, do you know if Brenda's gonna be joining us?
Unfortunately, she couldn't make it tonight, but I'm here.
She is, okay. Well, I don't know if Miss Martin is able to join us, but I know she had a class tonight, so why don't, if you're ready, why
I'm
don't
so
I?
excited because Daisy's famous. I saw her in the newspaper.
So I'd like to introduce Daisy. I was invited to, I think, one of the very first big organized events of the New Day Club that Daisy went to Miss Martin about. She is the advisor for this organization, which she's going to tell you all about. But this was Daisy's idea. She's the chairperson, and she has a co-chair, Brenda, who wasn't able to join us. But Daisy, could you tell us about this? Because it was really wonderful.
Yeah, of course. So I kind of had the idea because I saw the amount of new kids that were coming and who were on my bus, and there was a family from Guatemala, and I saw how new they were, and I would kind of introduce myself, and I would say, if you need anything, I'm here. I would be happy to answer any questions that you have and show you around if you'd like. And then I just kind of started thinking, and I was like, why don't we get all of the Hispanic kids in the school, and why don't we give them a welcoming? The bilingual kids who have already been here, and we give them a welcoming to the new kids who are from different countries. Because we've seen this stuff, we've seen what it's like not knowing the language, being new to the environment, and how hard it is to adjust to a completely new place and language with our parents, with almost like many of our parents who came here, and we've seen it firsthand, and we experienced it ourselves. I was the first Hispanic kid in my grade for about 6 years. And then I've seen how much the Latino community has grown. And I think that already being here for so many years, knowing the school and kind of knowing around the community, I feel like it was almost like obligation, not obligation, but almost it was mandatory that we did something about it and that we got together and we gave them that a proper welcoming, because it's always it's kind of, you're homesick, you're new to a new school and you're homesick, you're longing for your family back home, your language, your food, all those little things. And it's always nice to have that person that says, welcome, we see you, we hear you, and we know what it's like. We know what you're going through. We're probably not experiencing it, but we understand what you're going through. And so that's where I reached out to Brenda. I reached out to all my club members and we got together. We had our first meeting. And one of the first ideas I had was a welcome party, like I said, gift bags with candy, what I call bilingual candy, candy from Latin America and American candy, and letters, handwritten letters from each of the members to other ESOL students who have been working with Miss Martin. And we gave them a welcoming. We said, if you need anything, we're right here. And it was just a morning filled with food, sharing our food, our language, and with the teachers, with the faculty that came in, of course, and getting to know each other and playing games. And we had a lot of fun, and we hope to have different projects of mentorship. If they have any questions, they can come to us, meet with us for an hour about homework or anything else that they need. And external field trips and taking them to know the Berkshires and what we have to offer as a community, different museums like Berkshire Museum, Berkshire Botanical Garden, Norman Rockwell, different stuff like that we want to do in the future. But really, this club was made with love, with the intention of helping, of serving, and that mentorship, that welcoming, of course. So that's where the New Day Club, and the New Day Club came from one of our members, and she said that she loved the name A New Day because it's always a new day. It will always be a new day to help people. So that is where our name comes from as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
So we have Carrie Ann and Bonnie wanted to make comments. So Carrie Ann?
Mhm.
Or
That was left over. I'm so sorry.
oh, okay. Bonnie?
Daisy, this is fantastic. Thank you so much. I have a suggestion.
Mhm.
I was speaking to, a young lady who was talking to me, who spoke about the fact she was born in Sheffield, she's, lifelong, and met a new student who completely is just beginning to learn English. And he's in several of her classes. And I think for a lot, if you can figure out ways to help our students learn how to be good buddies
Mhm.
to, to the students who are new and help them, maybe everyone should have a buddy in addition to those in your New Day Club. It might be something to hurry up and not hurry up, but to expand. And if there are ways we could help you as a school committee, I think this is such a primo initiative, and you are to be totally commended. And remember to put this on your college application.
Thank you. No, thank you for your suggestion. Definitely, I think that's an incredible suggestion, and we will definitely keep that in mind. So thank you very much.
You're more than welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, Laura.
Just really quickly, Daisy, I really want to commend your total initiative on this. I just think it's so incredible how you guys got this all together so quickly. And it's just such a thoughtful, lovely thing you guys have done.
Thank you. Thank you.
There's a video, very brief, that we have from that party.
Oh, yeah?
There was an interview, Daisy, remember, that you did with Miss Giordano that day, and there's some pictures. Would you Shall I share that just quickly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very short.
Yes.
Okay, hang on one second. This is, where I fall apart.
Well, I think very great to start.
You are, yeah, I think I made you a host. So.
Okay, I am a host, so I'm gonna try to do this. There it is. Okay. There. Oh, what do I have to do? You have to go to this one.
Share.
I don't know how to do it.
There's, when you go to share.
Wait. We're gonna do this. Unmute. Nope.
You let George in.
All right.
Sandy, you need to mute your mic.
She's the video.
The video. I know.
I think what you need to do is, share your video out to me.
That George Mueller is in the waiting room.
I see that, but I'm not.
Okay.
I did
Oh,
that,
yeah.
I did that. I'm not.
And
Not in
then,
my computer?
Okay,
stop share first.
Jesse,
Yes.
this is great.
Share.
Good.
Sound.
It's a really nice thing the kids came up with, and Christine Martin, the advisor, was really helpful. I think it's really helpful with the kids.
Oh, what about the younger kids?
All right.
So there are a few.
That's the plan.
Direct channel, other way.
All right, maybe we could see it at our next meeting.
Sure. Sorry.
Yeah,
Can you
unfortunately,
send us the link?
yeah. We'll get a
Like
link
that,
to it and we'll hope to show it at our next meeting, Daisy, because we're having technical difficulties.
Sorry.
Sorry.
I can do it.
No problem.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so now we are going on to school improvement plans, item 7A, and Charles Miller is going to present first, followed by Jesse Carpenter. And please come up and we'll give you, you can have my nice warmed up chair.
Thank you. All right. So, first of all, she's not here anymore. Well, Daisy was terrific. It's a hard act to follow. This is going to be a little more drab. So, in your packets, you have a copy. This is a live document of the R.S.D. Elementary School Improvement Plan. This is, I get help from the school council to formulate this every year. We did actually change the format so that it could better align with the district improvement plan, which you previously reviewed with the superintendent. So I'm just going to give you the headlines and the highlights. There's a lot of words here. It's a little verbose. I asked Mackenzie to look it over because I knew Bonnie would find the spelling and grammatical errors. However, I'll also say that this, tonight's a brief presentation, but please, when you have time to take a look at it in more depth, do read it over and send me any questions, suggestions, or tips. School committee and community members, it's great when I get feedback. Every year since I've been here, we've made adjustments to it after the presentation. And that's a great way to, I distribute it to the ILT and then to the at-large faculty, but having some of those clarifying questions ahead of time, or even just like tips about organization is helpful. So
Let's start with what ILT means.
Oh, sorry.
Administrative Leadership Team.
yes, so ILT is my instructional leadership team. It's comprised of my curriculum leaders who spend a significant amount of time with me this year. We really, in adopting the accelerated learning plan or accelerated roadmap that Desi provided, we recognized right away in terms of building our meeting schedule that it was going to take more time than we've had in past years. That's about goal 2. We're in phase 3 of that. The first was plan, the second was launch, and now we're in the progress monitor phase. So my instructional leadership team wears a few hats. One, they serve as really my distributive leadership model. So if I have any initiative I'm doing, including anything that falls under the school improvement plan, I can consult with them. We can assess how it's going, and we can get, deep into the data to see where we are, where we need to adjust, where we need to progress monitor. And another thing the ILT obviously can do is just serve as a principal advisory council. So if there are other things throughout the year that might come up that I might miss, etc., they'll bring it to my attention, and we'll try to problem solve together. At times, it might necessitate forming a task force or a PLC. However, it's really great when we can manage some of the educational challenges at that level. So they meet with me twice a month on Mondays, and the way I organize it is I meet with them before I meet with my staff on Wednesdays. So the first goal here is really all about math. And looking at our math performance over the last couple of years, and looking at where our students were district-wide at all 3 schools in terms of math learning, and not just looking at the data, but also just going in and having a math conversations with our kids, we realized that one, we needed to get a new program because we weren't getting the student outcomes as measured by the data, MCAS and FastBridge, and internal assessments. But also that we also wanted to create more of a positive and healthy energy just around math mindsets. We modeled a little bit of that going into elementary classrooms in terms of talking about number sense. But what's really nice about this new program is with the try, discuss, connect format of lessons, it builds in more of that conceptual understanding that is really where the shifts are going with DESE, with standards, and with the expectations around math learning. The last thing I'll say about the math is that we are working with Mike Flynn out of Mount Holyoke, who is terrific and has done a lot of PD. We did a parent workshop last year virtually. We'll offer another one again this winter. And that helps us just think about how, math is not just rote memorization. Having the ability to perform well on a test because you memorize your math facts is a skill. However, it doesn't lead to later in life math and STEM kind of pathways. And quite often that ability to rote memorize and then regurgitate is something that doesn't stay with students longer. So we want to build those foundational conceptual minds around math and build in some of the math fact fluency, obviously, so kids have confidence, but really so they understand and are excited about the conceptual aspects of math. The second goal is about the accelerated learning roadmap, which aligns with the first in terms of how we want to progress monitor, how we want to look at our assessment and evaluation schedule. And really, there's a little bit of a narrative here, but how we want to catch kids up. Part of this came out of the TNTP, which is the new teacher project. It's not new anymore, but it's a nonprofit organization that did the largest study of student work and looked at really what works in terms of catching up kids. It's something that falls under the umbrella of the acceleration roadmap, and they found that some of the principles like giving kids grade level content, not dumbing down the material, and accelerating, not remediating, showed outcomes that were one, more equitable for historically underrepresented populations, but also had greater results for all students. So that's been kind of hard. We did rebuild and redraft, and actually we built the ship as we were flying it, because in the first month of school, we realized the elementary schedule needed to be overhauled and tweaked in order to give the amount of time teachers needed to provide the interventions, and also have the support from student support services staff, interventionists, and special ed staff. But that is about meeting the kids' needs. And I don't want to get complacent, but the data coming in from the R.S.D weekly comprehension checks and the unit test is looking promising that we are making gains, that students are catching up some of that learning loss. I don't like that term, but and then the last elementary priority on this is about the social emotional well-being of our students first and our community second, which includes obviously our staff and then also our community partners. And that was a big focus, obviously, coming in the beginning of the year. But what I did in terms of meeting with my teachers at their goal setting meetings is all their goals, both their student learner goal and the professional practice goal relate to one of these three priorities, whether it's monitoring and supporting the kids' social emotional well-being through practices, interventions, working with counselors, or math, or helping them catch up on stuff they haven't learned. So that's my 2 cents about the elementary school improvement plan.
Just a question that I had, since I'm a math and physics kind of person, those are my degrees.
Yeah.
Just reading this, I came away with the feeling that it looks like you were also getting into more of a hands-on approach.
So, that we had that's funny, we had, so part of this is R.S.D, just to be totally transparent. There is a large digital component to it, and each child gets an individualized pathway. However, that necessitates them being on a screen. And so we talked about in faculty meetings, things we like about that and things we don't. And one of the things we didn't like was that are we unintentionally moving away from some of the hands-on learning that I think a bunch of our teachers do really well and that we know is the best practice. And so we did an R.S.D training on the Berkshire County PD Day, the full day, and it was all about using manipulatives and how we can implement this program more with more efficacy if we continue to do that sort of thing. So that's something that our teachers recognized that we weren't doing enough. You don't want to just test, drill, and put kids on computers. You need to continue to provide opportunities and that's why the new schedule does provide that. But you want it, the more tangible you can make it. I mean, I was doing, I shouldn't say I was doing, Mr. Thompson today was helping me run the robotics, the elementary robotics club. And it's fantastic. The kids are coding and they're playing with this robot and they're putting stuff together. And then they're, I mean, it was pretty spectacular. And that's thanks to him. But yeah, making that hands-on learning and the more,
How are the teachers responding? And what don't you have that you need?
Okay, so what I have that I don't need, unfortunately, is
No, not that you don't need, but
that I need is a ubiquitous problem. And that's some of the staffing challenges that we're all experiencing. I sat in a meeting with the Elementary Principals Network throughout the county. There are about a little more than a dozen of us. And you go from school to school to school, and there's positions that aren't filled. And what I say is to focus on leading this work, I need to have the time, and the energy, but when we're covering constantly and filling in holes and so on, and it isn't because people aren't willing and able, just we don't have bodies in some instances. So that's been a challenge. In terms of how the teachers are doing, it's never good to ask teachers how they're doing right before Thanksgiving break, because I feel like right before break, I don't know, it was a full moon today. We had a bunch of things going on at 2 of our 3 schools, and then of course the pandemic. The accelerated roadmap, the way we planned for it, and the extra days we got in terms of PD for orientation, really, I think, allowed us to do this successfully. What we have to figure out is we're currently assessing students with FastBridge, with DRAs. FastBridge is both reading and ELA, and with R.S.D. And I think that, the roadmap and a new math program, which takes multiple years to implement effectively, has been a lot of work. And then on top of that, you have kids who have been out of school and some of our earliest learners who haven't been in school and so are getting used to routines and trying to catch up kids. So it's a heavy responsibility and it's a lot of work, but everyone who's here is doing their best and supporting one another.
We can speak offline in more
Yeah.
detail because of the time. But have you done, because I've been approached over and over again with people who are ready and willing to volunteer. And you may be able to get more community support with people who are willing to come in and assist you, because we've got a lot of retired teachers, got a lot of people who have experience in a number of areas. And it's a great way, to engage our community and help. So I'd love to speak to you in more detail and a couple of other ideas, but I think this is great.
Thank
Yeah.
Thank you.
But yes, let's have that conversation. I'm into it.
I just like to comment that I see the progress in the document that you're giving this year compared to the one that I've seen in the past, and I'm very pleased with the specificity of it and the clarity. So thank you for the extra effort that I know this stuff.
Thank you. And thank you to the school council as well. Yeah.
Jeff has his hand.
Jeff?
Sorry, it was hard to follow everything, and you might have spoken to this, Charles, but the accelerated teaching, I think, is really an impressive feat that's happening. And I know that the classrooms are really got huge gaps between people that accelerated learning, few that stayed on track, and then a lot that fell behind. I know earlier you were mentioning that, I guess it was a few meetings ago that you readdressed the schedules, right, of specials and paras so that they could be better utilized and whatnot. Is that giving you enough coverage, or is there still like demand from teachers that we need more paras to kind of help with this big discrepancy between classrooms?
In terms of our, so let me just make sure I get this correctly. The way our schedule worked before, there was a necessary time on learning. However, once we got people in the buildings and running around, we realized it was an inefficient use of travel time between schools. And it wasn't an ideal schedule for our outlying schools in terms of their ability to best use their paras. So that has gotten better. However, we still have people out with regular sickness and other reasons. We just don't always have the subs. And we have been signing up some new qualified candidates and so on, and that's worked out pretty well. And we continue to interview and we continue to post. But I think the challenge isn't unique to the accelerated learning plan here. I think it's more just, and I can't speak for a larger scope, but at least Western Mass. And
Nationally.
yeah, well, I talked to Michelle Colvin at MCLA last year, who's in charge of like the graduate programs for, training teachers. And she said, not only do you see people exiting and we're in, not population dense places, but you don't have that cohort of graduates looking for the jobs and coming into them. I know there's
that last piece about people are not looking for what?
We don't have as many people aspiring to become teachers in rural areas too.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Next, Jesse Carpenter with the Mount Everett.
Welcome to the hot seat.
Thank you. So, if we don't have much time left, I'll skip over a few things that Charles has already mentioned, but obviously, we have a school council on the secondary side that weighed in and helped with this, as well as what we call on the secondary side, the FAC, Faculty Advisory Council, which is the department heads and the grade level leaders. And so they all helped with this document, which connects to our district improvement plan, as well as, teacher goals for their educator plans and my goals as well for my educator plan. In terms of the document you have, I know you've only had it for a few days. So again, similar to what Charles said, feel free to read it and give feedback when you get a chance. And similarly to elementary, our first goal really is around data and looking at data to improve our student-centered instructional practices. We're using FastBridge in both math and ELA. We're also using the iReady math in middle school and using those assessments to inform decision-making around how we teach and what we teach. There's a My Sabers part of the FastBridge suite, which is more social emotional. And we've recently purchased the Wayfinder curriculum, which is all social emotional. Wayfinder has a pretty interesting way of doing it. They have a vast library for each grade level of lessons to do, which allows advisory teachers to look at the students they have and decide which of those lessons would most benefit them. But they also do sort of a quick hitter survey of 4 or 5 questions that teachers can give each week that will offer up some lessons that the program thinks would benefit kids in those cohorts. We've used this, we've adjusted faculty meeting time to incorporate data teams' ability to do that. We've looked at it both as individual departments, but also putting 2 departments together, like science and math, history and English. The benefits of that, history and English going together and talking about some of the data we see, is they've also looked at some of the standards in both subject areas and connected some of the things we see around where students are to where the standards are and how we want to use similar writing approaches in both our English classes and our history classes. And so, there's a lot more work that needs to be done over the course of the year, but opportunities for groups of teachers to get together and really dig deep into that data, I think will only help us. Our second goal really is structured around creating opportunities for our students to take college level classes, to help them be more prepared for entry into college, and also to continue to increase our internship opportunities and the experiences connected to future employment. Right now, we are working on a couple grants with our early college high school program. We're looking at some bigger grants that may include a whole school approach and the possibility of like up to 30 credits. We're applying for another grant to help us with what we're doing right now, which is trying to get as many kids 12 credits as we can. Our offerings so far over the last 3 years, we've tried a couple different approaches to try to get student interest. The course right now is a course on logic that is could count as a math credit or could count as a history credit around sort of philosophy. And the kids in it are having a really good time. Doing a lot of deep thinking. We have a class scheduled for the spring, which is another math class, but could also count as a sociology class in the history suite, which is going to look at math in the real world and look at some statistics around social economic factors and things like that, and try to really look deeply at the things that are going on. I'm sure there'll probably be some connections to the class that's going on now, but we have a couple new students that want to jump in for this spring semester, and I'm sure some of the kids who are in right now are going to continue with this new class in the second semester. We did some work with Bard and Simon's Rock last summer with some summer offerings. We're talking about maybe doing that again. The goal is really to try to give our students some options as they move forward to get a taste of what college is like. And hopefully, if these grants are successful, have an opportunity to give our kids the opportunity of maybe taking some classes right on their campus. So that's kind of the long-term goal. Our third goal really revolves around the MyCap plans, my career and academic plan, which is one of the requirements when you do an early college initiative. But the MyCap plan is a student-centered multi-year planning tool designed to provide students with ongoing opportunities to plan for their academic, personal, and social and career success. And so these plans are developed not just through the guidance department, but through a close, I don't want to say close contact, because of course we'll go right to COVID, but it's really what it is, like with an adult that is trusted by the student. And so, it could happen in advisory. Some of this could happen, if a kid finds that their math teacher is the closest teacher there too. But different adults help kids build these plans, and we offer some curriculum hypothetically through advisory, hypothetically through regular classes about opportunities to explore careers, to explore post-secondary opportunities. And really, these plans would start in 6th grade and continue to build throughout the students' years in middle school and high school. Right now, I have a team of teachers and staff who are going through some state trainings around MyCap. And our goal is really to try to unroll this a little bit in middle school this year, with the idea of getting all kids on board as we move into next year. And I'm excited about this. I think these plans will kind of help hone kids in a little bit as far as what the future may look like, as well as give kids who are young the opportunity to go through that process we all go through, where you think you know what you want to be when you're in 6th grade, and by the time you're in 8th grade, it's totally changed to a different discipline and a different idea, and just really giving kids options as they get through high school and they start to think about, okay, what's my life going to look like after I graduate from high school? So I guess I'll take some questions.
I'll be refereeing here, so I see Bonnie has a question. Anybody else on the screen up there? Don't see anything. All right, Bonnie.
First, I am so thrilled to see you beginning all of this starting with the 6th grade. I mean, when I first joined the school committee, it was in 10th grade, they did a pizza pie as a way to figure out college goals. Nothing had been done. So seeing this and having you do this, I think is absolutely wonderful. Again, I'm glad you're concentrating on bringing people in from the outside. My quick question now, because of time and all, is receptivity of the staff and what's standing in your way, and is there any way we can help as a school committee?
Are you talking specifically with like our early college initiative or all of these initiatives?
All of these initiatives.
I mean, I think, I think our staff recognizes certainly around the use of data and where kids are, that the more information we have, the better we can make decisions about how to move forward. The early college part is still sort of early, and the kids are experiencing it. Depending on these grants we get, we might be looking into some things that will involve the whole faculty. I mean, we have a plan that if we get the right amount of money in the grant, that if we're going to look at maybe a whole school early college program, we'd be looking at our own faculty here of having the ability to teach college level classes based on their expertise, based on the degrees that they hold, and based on going through sort of an early college program, which would be PD, that would be led by Barton Simons Rock, to get our teachers, to be able to do that, which we think would be really cool to have.
And they're receptive to it.
Yeah, I mean, we've had preliminary discussions, not with the whole faculty, but with certain members who we think would be able to do this. And so those people have been receptive to the idea of trying to broaden what we're currently doing in the college. So I think we're excited about it. In terms of what we need, a little of that is going to come in the next few months as we figure out, what grants we get. And, we're looking at this really broadly of trying to apply for as many of the grants as we can, in the hopes of, if you can get some of the bigger ones, it just gives us a little more time and money to plan these things out. But at a school our size, if we're able to get to the point where we can offer early college to everybody, we think that would be really cool.
May I just, because of time, when you apply for these grants, very often it's good to include a letter of support. from the school board or I mean, when I received grants in my previous life, that's something that helps, and you might, if needed, request from us a letter of support, and I'm not sure, I won't guarantee it, but I'm pretty sure. And
Second
where
one.
is this wonderful project that Chris, with our new Google certification, where does that fit in?
So that would be another way that we connect, one of the things that we would continue to develop, you'd still have the pathway model in what we're trying to do in high school would extend to sort of where we go with both MyCap plans and also, early college. So our technology pathway, which we've had quite a few kids really geared in that direction. Chris has been able to offer some new things this year, like cybersecurity. It plays into some of the things we do with robotics, but now some of these new initiatives that he's found and the
Well, do
ability.
you want to announce it since we're,
Well,
does
I
Chris
think-
announce it?
Well, it's in my.
I think it was in Beth's report, but just it's another avenue for us to get kids some training in the things that interest them. And that's really our goal as we move forward with all of these different things like early college, the MyCap, the future plans, is that if we can find ways to get kids certified in different ways, it really opens up the opportunities of what happens next, rather than, traditionally, kids sometimes graduate from high school and then look into those programs and get certified after. If we have the ability to certify them while they're here, it just speeds up what they're going to do next in terms of if they know this is the direction I'm going in. And so, Beth will talk about that a little later, but I think that goes perfectly into where we want to go with
I love it. I love it.
And I just,
Thank you.
I want to say that he's doing it from the school perspective, but we were talking about this as an admin team, and we're not quite there yet, but as we move into the budget process, we move into my collaborative goal setting, but also even, negotiating what we have to there might be a point where we talk about, do we re-envision what school looks like, with a
Exactly.
community discussion long-term. Because, but I think what we're trying to do is get the funds, get the opportunities, and then say to the community, let's sit down and make a plan about what this could look like. Because it is going to be a wider thing, and so we're kind of doing all of it at once, and that's the way the opportunity is. So it's a ton of work, and they all tie together. You need to have the MyCap program, you need to have the pathways, you need to have all of these things in place. So that's what we're trying to do.
And that's one of the reasons why we felt like including it in the school improvement plan. In the last couple of years, it's been dipping our foot in the water, trying to see, what kind of interest we have from students where we go. And now we feel like we're getting to the point where we can really start planning on what this looks like long-term.
And I love us being a center as everything. Yes. Add to it, Dennis will help you with the IBM program.
Right. There's lots.
Yeah, okay, we have two more questions, Jeffrey and then Carrie Ann.
Thank you. Jessica, very exciting. You mentioned over the summer program for early college, it sounded like it's not yet done. What are the variables that this lives and dies by
We
to make
did-
sure that we have early college programs for the summer?
Well, we had kids take classes in the summer because Simon's Rock for the first time offered a summer session. And so they're evaluating the idea of doing that again this summer with the intent of if they run it, including our kids. And so it was an opportunity for kids to be able to try out a college level class without the pressure of being in their other classes. So it was a way to take a class on its own in the summer, which worked for some of our kids that took it. It obviously was a lot less, it was lower leverage in the sense that they only had to focus on that one class, as opposed to, taking 7 classes in a school day and one of them is a college level class. So from our talks with Simon's Rock and Bard, they really liked that format last summer, and they would like to move to do it again this summer. But again, it's all dependent on their funding and things like that. So it would give us an opportunity to continue with that.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Carrie Ann?
Thanks, Jesse. As an early college graduate, I love early college programs, so I'm really excited to see this. I'm curious though, when you say early college program, does it involve other programs besides Simon's Rock, or is it just Simon's Rock?
Right now, we're working collaboratively with Simon's Rock. We do have some kids who take some classes with BCC and with MCLA, and depending on the program those kids want, you know, they do some work with other colleges. This would be a formal relationship and a designation as an early college high school with Simon's Rock involved. But again, you have some opportunities because there's certain things that kids may find interest in that maybe Simon's Rock and Bar doesn't have, or certain programs that kids will get involved in with like BCC, which then may lead them to take some more classes at BCC. So again, our goal here is to provide as many options to our students as we possibly can. So this, what we're doing right now doesn't shut the door to anything that we've done before in terms of our relationships with other colleges.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Very nicely done. Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Very complete. All right, we're going on to item 7B, which is the reorganization of subcommittees. And in line with what I suggested last year, we're announcing that we're reorganizing subcommittees, but it's a process that's going to take probably a couple of weeks to sort out who wants to be where. And so I'm calling on people to get in touch with me. The reason we've provided you with the subcommittee and liaison sheet again is so you can see that it's not complete. And I just wanted to say the Superintendent Evaluation Subcommittee, since the last meeting, when you authorized me to put 2 more people onto that committee, now Bonnie and Laura are officially on that. So it consists of Bonnie, Laura, Carrie Ann, and myself. And you also noticed that we never assigned officially the liaison section on the second page for the Eagle Fund, the child care, early childhood and wellness. And now we also have the liaison to the COVID advisory group. So I think we need to clarify those things. So I'm not sure whether there's a need for another workshop session like we had last year to have a long time to discuss this together. And so I'll have to take that under consideration. But in the meanwhile, if you could email me your interest in moving from one committee to another or dropping one committee, we will take this up in more detail at the next meeting. Does anybody have any questions about your homework on that, Dennis?
The only question I have is that if we're not going to do anything about it tonight, I can't really remember, you know, our bylaws and so forth well enough to. So what happens to those subcommittees?
Well, they're staying, and I am reassigning people according to people. I want to give people a chance to change which committees they like to be on. I'm not suggesting we're dropping any committees. I'm just saying who's on what committee.
No, I'm asking a more basic question
Right.
about, are we within our purview to make that happen? To just keep them the way they are now? I don't know that. I mean, I just.
Well, I think, I know from our policy, we have certain committees that are named. And so if we were to drop those, we would have to do something, change to the policy. We have extra committees that are
I'm
not
still not
mentioned.
making myself clear.
Okay, yeah, I'll try again.
What I'm trying to explain and understand is that I'm not sure that we don't have something in our bylaws, regulations, whatever, that basically says that they are, I mean, because we've always done them at this time.
Except for last year. last year?
Well, last year was that was the year of COVID, nothing was the same then, but,
No, I think what I said was at that meeting, in order to give due diligence to the discussion of defining the roles and who is going to be on them, we had a special workshop session right after the reorganization meeting to make our decisions. And at that time, we discussed them. Bonnie?
First, I'd like to make a motion. I don't know if it's in order, Dennis, but that my motion is that we keep all of our committees between now and the next meeting of December 2nd as is. And
Second.
as currently populated.
Okay, there was a
Second.
second by Jeffrey. It's open to discussion.
My reasoning is that we have a number of committees that have already established meetings for the sake of time tonight and for the sake of continuity. My reasoning is let's just keep all committees as is right now. But that we get the information to you, give us a date, and that all committees as currently populated remain until the 2nd.
All right, Carrie Ann, your hand is up. Can you contribute to the discussion of this motion for the time being?
No, it's not about the motion. It was raised before that, but it is about the subcommittee. So I don't want to interrupt the motion.
Okay, so I'll take a roll call vote about this motion to keep the structure as is until the next meeting. Is that right? Okay, so then Art,
Yes.
Dennis,
yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Ann,
Yes.
Bonnie,
Yes,
and Jane. Okay, so now, Carrie Ann, you had a question?
I do. Thank you. Jane, do you have any sense of how many committees a given member should be considering being on in terms of distribution of the work as we're submitting our suggestions to you?
That's an interesting question. I don't think that there is any, I haven't seen any policy issues about how many you can be on.
Sure.
I haven't even seen anything that says you have to be on one. It's a custom and practice. And we know very clearly that some people have very little time, and in order to do a good job on the full committee and to show up, they can maybe only do one extra committee. I'm not pressuring anybody to do more than they can handle. And the other hand, I'm looking at, we can't have somebody who's on too many because maybe they're having undue influence. So it may be that we want to eventually make a policy that you can have between X and Y, like 1 and 3 placements or something like that, but we don't have anything at the moment. And Bonnie?
I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, we determined, because there were some people who were not doing, if you have been elected to the school committee,
Yeah.
you understand that there is a commitment to serve on subcommittees. And it was determined at that point that a person should be on a minimum of 2, but more likely 3 subcommittees.
So is
That-
that, do we have that in writing somewhere, do you know? In the
I
policy
don't, it
manual?
was a discussion that took place.
It was a discussion.
When we-
I don't
not
believe
a
we have anything in
policy.
policy
Yeah.
that says that. No.
It was not a policy, but the idea was, came up with reorganization, that no one should expect, if they stood for election, that they're only serving on one subcommittee.
Okay, so I think given that at that time, there was an agreement, seems like possibly we do want to establish a policy going forward about subcommittee service and then put that in the handbook and the description of the job of being a school committee member. But at this point, we don't have it formalized. Does that help you at all, Carrie Ann? I would just suggest people don't volunteer for more than they can actually do work. and show up, because we need a quorum and we need to get work done. So that's my main concern.
So it sounds like around two, like to offer you 2 or 3 suggestions in an email from what I'm hearing everybody say. Okay.
That's great. That's great. Thank you. All right. So now we have the budget calendar, our favorite thing.
Well, so I, on behalf of just helping, put in a very, yeah, I kind of based it off of the last 2 years, just so I could give people a heads up. And took what we've worked from for the last couple of years and started to lay it out. I want to do nothing other than just have this here for you to look at, and when the committees are appointed and decisions are made, this can serve as a template, because we do have to get work done internally. So I wanted to show what we're doing internally on the budget, but I think, you know, our goal was to share this draft tonight, to when the finance committee assembles, aiming for around 12/16, maybe right in front of the, I didn't know if there was a meeting, or just have a finance committee meeting and have a formal plan and decision about an adoption of the formal calendar, so that people can get to work and know what their
Yeah.
schedules are gonna be like.
That's scheduled for right before our full committee meeting.
Yeah. So that was the attempt to make it easier on the group, but it was just a suggestion, and I had done it that way last year, so I wanted to throw that in there for food for thought. That's it.
Great. Nice to have a heads up on that. Bonnie?
I think this goes, Carrie Ann, to what you brought up in terms of committees. If you're going on finance, you're knowing that it's going to be a lot of meetings, and you might opt then to do something that doesn't meet that often as one of your other choices.
For the timing of the, some committees are very busy at certain times and not at other times. I think that there's an extra burden on the people who are on the regional school district planning board, because we have 2 or 3 or 4 extra meetings on top of what we're doing here. So it's not unusual for us to have 4 meetings a week, between a subcommittee from here, a regular meeting, and then 2 other meetings having to do with the planning board. And our effectiveness quotient goes down significantly, I believe. Did you have more to say, Carrie Ann?
Yeah, I had a question that in some way it sort of went back to Jeffrey's question earlier when we were looking at the warrants of, and so when we, how do we look at the budget and like get a snapshot in real time of where our spending is in a given moment in relation to what's budgeted for a given line item? Is there a way to see that, or do we just wait until, I know that when we're in the budgeting process, we get to see last year versus this year, but I'm just curious about how we see it throughout the year.
Well, it's an operational task, right? So that's the responsibility of myself and my staff to manage that. You are welcome at any time to come in and ask for a budget report, but in this forum, it's our responsibility, either the business office or myself, to come forward if I think, you know, we are overspending, we're underspending, you know, it's our job operationally to be watching that and to bring it to the committee if we feel like we'll either call a finance committee meeting or we have a huge purchase we have to make. So we'll be asking for the subcommittee of buildings and grounds, whatever that looks like, to get together and make you aware of potential issues and or, you know, funding that we obtain through grants or other opportunities, pluses or minuses. But that is our responsibility when we have these business meetings to bring any concerns we might have forward. If you're not hearing from us, it's usually because we are on target and there's nothing out of the ordinary that needs to come to anybody's attention. So But you, like I said, you are always welcome to come in, set up a meeting with either someone in the business office and or myself, and we can provide you with any real-time data you'd like to look at.
Sure, thank you. It's just helpful understanding how it gets brought to our attention if something is in any difference from what is proposed. Thank you.
All right.
Oh, Dennis has his hand up.
Okay.
Carrie Ann, a good way to look at it is that the finance subcommittee is basically doing the oversight work. Most of the work is done by the administration. They do the heavy lifting. Let's just be straight out with that. They do all the heavy work. Basically, the finance subcommittee is doing the reviews as part of that whole process of getting everything put together to put before the full school committee and then eventually before all 5 towns. But believe me, you know, that's the busiest time of the year for the staff, you know, but especially the superintendent and anybody involved in the financial side of the district, you know, other than the school committee.
Also, you have a sense of where spending is going based on the information we provide in the district improvement plan. You know, you can see where our resources are going. We'll say, you know what our staffing levels are at the beginning of the year. If we say we would like to hire coaches or we're going to buy a program, you know where the funding's kind of going. And if it's going to vary from that, I have to come back to the committee and say, I'd like to, you know, we've got this grant funding and that's how we're going to pay for this additional programming, or legal fees are way over, so we're going to have to move money from something else. So that is the overarching responsibility of myself and the team as the operations for you.
All right. So thank you. And on we go to, I'm looking at the time, just letting.
7:45. So
Yeah, well, I just want to give you an update that our attorney is on call for 7:45 in case we were ready. He says he can wait until 8, so let's try to see if we can be ready by then, because we've already been in this meeting for a while. So the next item on the agenda is what you requested, a discussion with possible actions on the proposed COVID advisory committee. And I will turn it over to Jeff and Carrie Ann, who worked on this document, to tell us about it, and then we will have a motion. I guess, why don't you make a motion, Carrie Ann, and then we'll have a second to it, and then we'll have our discussion.
Well, it seems like maybe I should be making a motion for it to be postponed till the next agenda, given that there's 4 minutes before we need to go into executive session. So I think I'd like to make the motion that we postpone until next meeting, given the rest of the agenda and the need for executive session.
Is there a second for that?
Second.
All right. Does anybody want to further discuss that? I thank you for that, Carrie Ann, because we do have a very important session that we need to get to.
Sure.
I'll take a roll call vote to approve that motion. Art,
Yes.
Dennis,
Yes.
Jeffrey,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Carrie Ann,
Yes.
Bonnie,
Yes,
and Jane. Okay, so I'm gonna
you
put
didn't
that,
vote.
oh,
that was a motion to do that.
a motion to do it, okay. All right, now we vote. Thank you very much. So Art,
Yes.
Dennis,
Yes.
Jeffrey,
What's the motion?
to postpone to table this till the next meeting.
I thought that was the motion.
That
Didn't
was-
we already vote on that?
You are the only one who hadn't voted. That's all I was saying.
Oh, I have to vote. Jane votes to table also. Okay,
Okay.
sorry about the mix-up. Okay, I thought we were done, but I didn't realize I hadn't spoken. Thank you. Okay, So that's going on the December meeting. And let's see, that brings us to the subcommittee reports. And
Update on regional school district credit.
well, I did want to tell you, because I was asked last meeting when you're going to start seeing the data reported from the survey and the focus groups. And November 30th is the date of the next full meeting where that's being presented. I'm not sure if on the website there's some preliminary stuff to see, but I attended the outreach committee and they seem to be wanting to hold on to things until they have it organized in a way that it can be presented in the most successful way.
We're doing a dry run at 3 o'clock tomorrow.
Okay, so Carrie Ann?
Is there any intention for that presentation to be brought to each full school committee, or is it the expectation that school committee members need to come to that presentation meeting?
The latter for now. I do want to make a comment that we did get the report to the education subcommittee from the Hanover Research Group, and one of their very strong statements is to bring school committees and the community in as soon as possible for dialogue. So I'm going to encourage more contact with us directly, maybe between the two school committees, that we would actually have a conversation, and with our communities. So that report I can send out, it's public now if you'd like to read. They did a review of a number of school districts that tried to merge and what worked and what didn't work. And this communication issue is a very big one. So does that answer your question?
It answers that it's on us to go to that meeting. Could you just send around that date of that specific meeting when they're going to be presenting those findings?
I will send the Zoom link out to everybody.
Thank you.
It is on, and Bonnie?
Carrie Ann, the easiest way, go to 8towns.org and on the homepage, you scroll down to the meeting, hit the meeting, and you get the agenda and the link.
Yeah, but it would just be really helpful for somebody to say, this is the meeting on this, like not to have to go through all the agendas to find when this is going to be presented.
It's right there. Just hit it and it takes 30 seconds.
Yeah, I'm happy to send reminders to everybody.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay. And I am wondering if we need to have a full meeting just on the topic of the planning board sooner rather than later, but we're not going to do it tonight yet. So on the subcommittees, finance is getting ready to be busy. Community relations and public school advocacy, I'm very sorry that there seems to have been a snafu in the sending out of your newsletter. So
No, what happened? No idea. I kept asking because, I don't reside and I kept saying what happened and I kept asking people, did you get it? Did you get it? And when we followed up today, for some reason, even though we could see it on our end, he said he didn't receive it on his end. So he's fixed that as of today and it's going out. So as of today. So
Wow.
yeah. So it's a good, I'm glad I kept asking to make sure that people got it.
It's fun checking my mailbox.
Yeah. So it should, so keep looking now.
yeah, so thank you to that committee for working so hard to meet a deadline. And then there's always a reason why things don't go the way you wanted them to. You want to make a short statement, Bonnie, about negotiations?
Policy.
Policy, I don't think we met. since
No,
last
we
time.
have not, but I just mentioned to somebody here, I think Art, that we just got like 27 new policies.
Yes, I know.
Okay.
Well, we'll
So
deal
there's
with
some work
that.
to do.
Yeah.
On personnel and negotiations, we met on Monday to go over ground rules And we have agreed with slight modifications to the ground rules for negotiations. It was a face-to-face meeting. In other words, we met with the SBREA and their regional representative, and our attorney was present. And we have set up a schedule of upcoming meetings to begin actual negotiations starting in December.
Thank you. And buildings and grounds did not meet, curriculum did not meet. We have a meeting of the superintendent evaluation subcommittee coming up on Monday. Yes, Carrie, anything else you want to say?
We met and Beth presented to us about some other models that were a bit more collaborative in designing the goals that, you know, go into eventually into the evaluation, which is part of why some of the timeline got shifted about the superintendent's goals generally. So we have a meeting on Monday to try and keep moving that forward as quickly as possible.
Thank you. And executive session minutes did not meet. So my chairman's report is just thank you for re-electing me. I just want to say we have a lot of serious work to do, and I'm really hoping that we pull together with our superintendent and keep our eye on student achievement and not get too distracted by a lot of other things that are going on that are draining everybody's energy. And I'll maybe say more. I might actually write a chairman's report next week that I just like our superintendent has a piece of paper, and our curriculum director and our student service give you a written statement. So I'm going to make it a try, see if I can do that for next time. And so I'm going to pass it over to Superintendent Regobuto.
I'm just going to highlight, in the interest of time, Mr. Thompson. He's here, so he could say it if he wants, but he gave me the information about our cybersecurity team. So we participated in round 2 of the National Youth Cyber Defense Competition last Friday. We finished 390th out of about 3,500 schools. We're expected to be named to the platinum tier for the state championship round in December, which is very exciting, And as I think this is what many people were referring to on the announcement of Mount Everett being named a Grow with Google school, and we'll be able to start offering classes through Coursera, leading to a Google certificate in IT support as well as Python programming. So they're going to be free to the school through March of 2023. So that's some really great news and a great opportunity. I put in here, as I found out today, about the newsletter so that people could be aware and to keep their eyes posted on their mailboxes. We had our community conversation on Tuesday night around the pediatric vaccine, another opportunity for families to speak with our local public health team members, and our school physician, Dr. Sylvia, was present. So that was a follow-up that we said we were going to do. And I won't read through the whole thing, but since I had the opportunity to attend the MASS, which is the Mass Association of School Superintendents, and the Mass Association of School Committees, the joint conference, in person this year, which is wonderful to have professional development in person again and be able to have the time to collaborate and spend time with colleagues. But there's a lot of talk around the heightened level of emotion, and you can feel it. You can feel the anxiety that's been going on as COVID and life has been so challenging over the last 2 years. And what I while we were there, the MASS and MASC put out a joint statement, which I have included in here, and it had to do more with an incident that happened in another school district. It's not what's happening here, but I thought there was a huge takeaway from that. And the takeaway that stuck with me was about the importance of the fact that our children are watching us. They're watching us as adults and how we handle incredibly difficult things. And it's hard, and I'm acknowledging it's hard. It's hard for everybody, and everybody has stuff. But what I think is important, and I think I'm trying to reground myself and reground my administrators and reground the staff every chance we get, and I hope we can reground each other, that kids are counting on us. They're watching us. And we need to be kind to each other, and we need to take care of each other, and we need to be that example. And it just was so important. I felt like I just needed to share that in this forum. So it's there for you to read and to be thinking about. And I continue to be proud of us in this district. But I think it was just it was a good reminder for me. So I wanted to share it.
Thank you. I'm so glad you brought that up, because I second that. And as a school committee, we're role models too, because the public is watching us and depends on us. All right, so Director of Student, where we have a letter here from Julie. She wasn't able to be here this evening with family demands. So please do take a look at that, and I'm sure she'll be willing to take any questions that you have via email. And
the only thing, if I could highlight in here for her on her behalf, because she couldn't join us tonight, is the new Educating Our Eagles newsletter that's going to come out monthly as part of the district webpage, which is that eye into the classroom of the things that are going on at each level. And we've made it hopefully as easy as possible for teachers. They fill out a survey and just give us one thing that's happening in the classroom so that we can share it with our families and they can see as if they were in the classroom with us each month. So that's a goal that we've had, and another way of sharing what good things go on in the district. So we'll be looking for the first edition of that coming soon. Very nice.
I had my hand up for Beth, actually. I don't know if you saw it.
sorry, Laura, go ahead.
Just really quickly, Beth, I was curious if you have a sense of like the amount of families participating in pool testing currently. Like, I'm curious if it's shifted at all over the course of the year, or just what's going on with that.
So I'm going to defer to Sandy, as she is the Director of Health Services in the 200 titles that fall under her.
It's in her report.
You know, I will let her speak to it if that's okay with you.
Segue to you.
Sure. To answer your question, it has increased. I can't tell you exactly how much. I will definitely, I'll have that information for the next meeting. There has been an increase. I mean, at this stage of the game, I think everybody's aware we've had some more cases. So we're conducting test and stay. So even if families haven't signed their children up, they are in the moment. So we continue to put it out there. I put it in out on our news feed recently. Again, trying to remember to do that every week. So it is an increased number, but I'll have that number for you next time.
Okay, and test and stay is based on an identified close contact, right?
When I say that, when they sign up, they're signing up essentially for all testing when they do that. So yes. I got trained to do pool testing recently. And that day, I can tell you, there were a bunch of new students who were just added to the list because they were on a separate list. So I do know that there was an increased number. That was 2 weeks ago.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And now
I do my health services report.
Yeah.
So you can see from my report, I'm largely sharing information about the upcoming vaccination clinics. One will be here on Saturday at Undermountain from 1 to 5, South Egremont. New Marlboro are coming up on the 29th and 30th. Encouraging if anybody has any questions, you can certainly contact the nurses and they would be happy to answer any questions. We've been working really closely, as Beth mentioned. We had another public forum the other night. There weren't many families on, but it was a good opportunity to hear more about the vaccinations for our 5 to 11-year-olds. So I'm just going to leave that there. What I want to end with, because I see that it's 7:59 and you have to go. I just want to thank our staff members for pulling together during a really challenging time with staffing. And everybody's just kind of pulled together and supporting our kids. And that's really incredible. So,
Yeah,
thanks to them.
yeah, I think as a school committee, I've been thinking of how we can give our thanks to everyone who is working so hard on behalf of the kids. And I think it's typical for the school committee to do anything in particular, but I think it would be a timely and appreciated gesture. So anybody has any ideas about how we might do that, get in touch with me and we'll come up with a surprise.
Oh.
All right, so I think I would like to take a motion to adjourn the open meeting and to go into executive session. Do I have a
Motion to adjourn.
So we have to motion to go into it, right?
Yeah, we have to motion to go into executive.
Oh,
session.
into executive session.
And I'm gonna let Bonnie help you with that because we have to read this whole thing, Bonnie.
Okay. Motion to go into executive session pursuant to MGL chapter 30A, section 21A1, to discuss the reputation, character, physical condition, or mental health rather than professional competence of an individual, or to discuss the discipline or dismissal of, or complaints or charges brought against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual, and not to reconvene in open session.
Second.
Yeah.
Do I say that?
No.
So I thought.
So that's made by Bonnie and seconded by Dennis, and I'll have a roll call vote to.
Quick
go
question.
into- Yeah,
Will we be sent an email from Beth right after this, the conclusion of this, and to get into the next?
the link has already been sent, and then once we get into the session, then our attorney is gonna send us the materials.
Got it.
Or screen share what we have to vote on, okay? So going to do our roll call vote. Jeffrey,
Yes.
oh God, this is an old list.
Just look at.
Laura.
Yes.
Dan.
Yes? Did you say Carrie Ann?
Okay, Jeffrey,
Yes.
okay, Bonnie,
Yes.
Dennis,
Yes.
Arthur.
Yes.
Jane. All right, we are now,
Jane.
yes,
Okay.
just say yes. So we are now going to go out of this meeting. You'll get a new link to a new meeting. Thank you, everybody who was at the public meeting. Appreciate it.